This is the Storypunks podcast, the show where we talk and sing about... I can't even get through that. This is the Storypunks podcast, the show where we talk about all the punks, so steampunk, dieselpunk, cyberpunk, and all the other punks. And yes, today we are singing, well, we used very loosely, my guest will be singing to you. Now, who could it possibly be among all the amazing steampunk musicians that we have? There's just all this innovative music that comes out of these art forms and these genres. It's Professor Elemental from Wild Wild West Con in Tucson, Arizona. I was so thrilled to speak with him and to share what he shared at one of the panel discussions. So he actually sung Happy Birthday to a very lucky person. I captured it, and with his permission, I'll be sharing that with you. It's really fun. Then I'll be interviewing him, and then I will share another song about creating, and it's a really relevant song. It couldn't be more perfect for this podcast. So I'm so grateful that he gave me permission to share that with you. It is recorded from a conference room. Please visit his site, obviously, for the professional version, but it gives you a taste on this podcast. So I'm so excited about that. I have a gorgeous steampunk coloring book to tell you about today. I have teamed up with Lady Mechanica artist Joe Benitez. So this is a comic, but he's actually taken his art and turned it into a coloring book. So you may already know about the Lady Mechanica storyline. This is a wonderful way to celebrate it or to get to know it for the first time if you aren't familiar with Lady Mechanica. So this is a set of 40 intricate black and white illustrations, and it gives you so much to focus on while your mind is being creative. You're thinking kind of in your back burner or your peripheral brain, as I call it. And I am actually sending this Lady Mechanica steampunk coloring book to the first people who send me a photograph or a screenshot of their review on iTunes. Then I would love to send that as a thank you for your time. If you join the newsletter, which is found at storypunks.world/newsletter, then you'll be in touch with me via email, and you can send me that screenshot, and hopefully you're one of the first people because I have a limited number of these beautiful coloring books. I can mail it to you anywhere in the United States. If you're outside the United States, I should be able to mail that to you as well, but just in case there's some exorbitant charge that I don't know about, it's possible I may have to send you something else, but I'll for sure find some other way if it's like just so expensive. I just don't even know what those fees could be, but I'm sure it'll be reasonable. No matter where you are in this world, this universe, we'll find a way. And I just appreciate your time. So I appreciate Joe Benitez as well, and the Lady Mechanica team and everyone that's made this happen. So again, you can find out more about Lady Mechanica by just searching for it on Amazon or any other place you buy your books, or you can go to joebenitez.com. So JOEBENITEZ.com. And if you fall in love with this coloring book, you can actually buy the second volume. There's another volume. So this is a gift that could keep on giving if you absolutely love it, and I'm pretty sure you will. It's pretty epic. But also go ahead and check out joebenitez.com because you may be interested in other series, other projects he's working on, and you may be interested in the actual comic itself, obviously. Thank you again for being part of the community. If you have a few minutes, please take advantage of this because I would love to send this out to as many people as I can. As for my update, trudging on. That's the name of the game over here. I am working on things. There are projects that are on hold, as I've previously described. And depending on when you're hearing this, there may be something for you to check out over at my author site, which is cindygrigg.com, CINDYGRIGG.com. It's an ebb and flow with my creator journey right now because there's so many moving pieces that I'm putting in place. So it's kind of like popcorn, what I have time to work on around my day job. I do work, so it gets to be a pinch with time, but I'm trying to just keep evolving, keep becoming more effective, and keep putting automations or tools in place where it makes sense, and then just keep trying to be a more productive author. So you can also check out my site, theproductiveauthor.com, and I'm sending you good vibes with everything you are working on. As you may know, I had an injury last year. I busted up my knee, and so at this convention, I was having a really hard time carting my video equipment around. I had pared it down quite a bit, but in the end, I had kind of given myself a break. I was just enjoying different sessions, and lo and behold, I ended up at this one with Professor Elemental and went up and talked to him at the end, and it was like, hey, let's do an interview on the spot. Let's just say my video and podcast equipment at that time was entirely minimal. So I was really just so heartened. We usually say disheartened, don't we? That doesn't sound quite right, but I was very encouraged by how many people came together to just come up with a video setup on the spot. And you'll hear that as we go through. I included some of those outtakes for you because I think it's really indicative of the steampunk spirit and the community spirit we have in all of these communities. So thanks to everyone that was willing to go with it, because this turned out to be just a really fun window into Professor Elemental's personality and his gracious attitude toward his fans. So I really, really appreciated that. And also his assistant and so many other people that were just standing there nearby while we did this impromptu interview. So as with all convention episodes, you'll hear some of the background. I've done what I could in the video editing software to minimize stuff like that. But you will hear a few things, like you'll hear the wind at times, and that's just going to be the organic feel of this. I hope it's not intrusive. Just kind of level set the expectations since this was recorded in that kind of atmosphere. So this isn't like the best angle, but I think it'll be fun.
Are we going to be video? Is it going to be?
It's video.
Oh, God.
That's why I wanted to like have you eating lunch.
Might be my last interview, you know that.
It might be. And we could always do audio only if it looks bizarre.
You've managed to find the most unflattering angle there ever was.
I know, because in there I could prop it up. You know, I'm at my 40th birthday.
Prop it up with
every
this.
angle I can get.
Use a rock and prop it against it.
Okay, awesome.
Or this way, which will be...
This is the steampunk way. This is how it needs to be.
Or actually against the table might work too.
How's this angle?
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Focus. Is it
Looks
on?
good.
It's on. Hello.
Hi, welcome Storypunks. I am here. He needs no introduction, but let me just introduce.
I'd like one all the same.
This is Professor Elemental. Welcome to the world of Professor Elemental. An award-winning hip-hop artist and accomplished host, the professor has performed all over the world at everything from festivals to wedding parties, hip-hop shows to bizarre burlesque. A regular on the worldwide convention and festival scene, he has played everywhere from Canada to Cambodia. With a career spanning a decade, Professor Elemental first got noticed with the video Cup of Brown Joy, which notched up over 2 million views and headlines in the national press. This was soon followed by a scuffle with another rapper named Mr. B, resulting in the follow-up Fighting Trousers video, which has been viewed over 3 million times and gained worldwide acclaim. Along with over 10 years of acclaimed albums and live shows, the professor has also lent his voice to Disney cartoons, charity campaigns, advertisements, and much more. Working alongside charities like Audioactive and SYCP, the professor is also an ex-teacher and has a wealth of experience as a workshop facilitator. So you can find more information about Professor Elemental at professorelemental.com/about. And I want to read a few of the press shoutouts that I thought were especially descriptive and right on the money. So Certified Banger said, "A breath of fresh air in a serious scene." Is that true? Do you guys think that we sometimes take it a little too seriously? Well, Professor Elemental is definitely having fun with rap, definitely having fun with steampunk. So I absolutely agree with this. And then the Londonist said, "Fast and fluid, lovably bonkers." And I also loved what the Wall Street Journal said, "Chap hops, leading exponent." He is doing the premier headliner, I would say.
Definitely so.
Performance.
Yes.
And he was so gracious to do this interview on the spot. So you know what I always ask to start these interviews? Professor Elemental.
Yes.
What is your definition of steampunk? Is anything inbounds, out of bounds? How do you define it in your explanation?
It's definitely... There's nothing out of bounds as far as I'm concerned. I don't like rules and constraints. Like I was told ages ago, by a steampunk friend of mine, that they got in trouble with another steampunk. They said, "Oh, you're wearing trainers. That's not very Victorian." And from that day onwards, I've always worn trainers just to kind of break those rules. It is inevitably whatever you want it to be, but that's a cop-out answer. So I would say steampunk for me is an excuse to get drunk in a funny hat. It's just a massive fancy dress party, which encompasses all the people who didn't belong in any of the other subcultures.
Absolutely.
That's
I
what
think
I
that's a
like.
beautiful definition.
Yeah.
Especially if you walk around this con, we're seeing people with all kinds of costumes and everything. So we were just in a panel.
We were?
Professor
Nice.
Elemental, and they asked some really good questions. So I'm actually going to repeat one of them because I
Okay.
thought it was wonderful.
So you haven't got any ideas or questions of your own. You're just
Yeah.
stealing other people's and rehashing them.
In that program, you said that we could.
Yeah, that's true. I've given you permission. It's fine. Crack on.
So the question that I really liked was they asked about your influences, and I think other people that weren't in that panel would like to know that.
Yes, that's true. Excuse me.
It's very dry here in the desert.
So dry in the desert.
I mean, we're literally in.
This is my final message to England. I might not make it back. I'll just have to leave you with Mr. B, and I'm so sorry about that. It's not what I planned. It's not how I wanted my legacy to be. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, things I used to like when I was a kid. So when I was really young, I've got American relatives. And I was left in my uncle's house, and he lived in a really rough part of town in Montana. And I was left there for an evening. He went out to do something. I was just on my own. I was only about 12. And he really loved hip-hop. And so I just had all of his old tapes. And that's how I really got into hip-hop music. So it was an era of the Fresh Prince and that wonderful Self-Destruction song, Boogie Down Productions, all that kind of stuff. And the early 90s were really silly for hip-hop as well. There was a lot of silly music. Things like Digital Underground and Kid and Play and stuff like that. So that was my early influences, and I was a bit dismayed as I got older that like really fun rap music is kind of hard to find. I mean, it is out there, but it just takes a lot of looking for. So I thought I'd keep making it.
Absolutely, that's cool. Okay, and you also mentioned your upcoming album. Do you mind sharing that with my audience?
Yeah, well, I've not mentioned it anywhere else, so I can do.
Okay.
I think it's going to be called Nemesis, and it's going to be, I wanted to do a project where the professor gets properly broken. You know, like they do in superhero comics.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to have a baddie where there's actually a little bit of danger. Like, I want to smash up the mansion, kill the monkey, just do it all, and see if his optimism can survive that, basically.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, that's going to be the next thing. It should be big and cosmic and huge.
And were there like superhero vibes involved? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I definitely want to go superhero with it. I want it to be like one of those Grant Morrison, cosmic, Jack Kirby type comics where it all goes a little bit crazy at the end. I've been doing it long enough now that I think it's time to jump that shark.
I think so
Let's
too.
go cosmic. Let's make a kind of huge Professor Galactus at the end or something, I'm not sure.
Does it feel like a big risk, or does it just feel natural, like the next evolution of the story?
Oh, it's just the next bit of the story, isn't it? And I think, you know, I'm always borrowing bits and pieces, like all hip-hop. That's one of the great things about rap music. It all borrows from each other, from culture generally. And this idea just borrows from reading lots and lots of comics all my life, thinking, how can I work some of those kind of narrative tricks and funny, satisfying moments into a musical album, just because I don't know if anybody's done it before.
Yeah.
That's normally my reason. Is it fun, and has anybody done it before? They're the two questions to
And
ask
will
before
it
doing anything.
embarrass your children?
And will it? I don't have to ask that question because I know it will.
It's just default.
Yeah, everybody else's kids really like my stuff. My own children are less concerned with it.
Yeah.
Just want it to stop.
Totally.
Just want a normal dad who can put up a shelf.
Okay, well, I know you're super busy, but I have one more question.
Yes,
so,
please do.
Where do you see steampunk going? Do you like the movement overall? How do you feel, about where it is, or what would you hope for
It's
it?
not going anywhere, really, is it?
That's what I think.
It's not going anywhere. But I mean that in a really good way. I don't mean like it's stagnating, but it's not popular. Like this is not going to become a worldwide phenomenon, and that's what happens with stuff. It becomes really big. Think about the last Star Wars movies that came out. Disney bought the franchise, put out loads of films, and got it to the stage where everybody just went, "Oh, enough! Bloody Star Wars!"
Yeah.
That's not going to happen with steampunk, and it's ours, so we can just keep it for as long as possible. So fingers crossed. At least I want it to last as long as I do, so I don't have to get a real job.
So true. Okay, well, anyone who I don't know how you would not have heard of Professor Elemental, basically, but I'm going to add in some stuff from this wonderful panel we just had. We've got a birthday song, we've got a song for artists, and You're just gonna love it. Thanks again to Professor Elemental. I appreciate you letting me share this so that others can enjoy what we all did at the Wild Wild West Con. So you'll notice if you're watching the video version, this is in a church setting. That's because it was on that old Tucson movie set that I was talking about in the intro to season 2. So that was basically a movie set, and you can go through and tour it, and it was the best place I've ever been for like a steampunk convention. It was so cool. This outdoor facility, everybody's pictures looked awesome. So that's where we are for that, and that's why he's going to say, welcome to this bit of church. So if you are just listening to the audio, hopefully that ties it in. You can imagine this really cool white church from a Western movie set. And then you're also going to notice a pretty incredible Doctor Who steampunk hat. It's blue. Look for it. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to this bit of church. Like I'm marrying you with you. This wonderful woman who has travelled from Seattle with the confidence of someone who knows that just by arriving somewhere, everybody around her will immediately want to party with her. This whole Wild West Con has been completely renamed and changed to the birthday party for the very glorious, the absolutely gorgeous Cameron! Rock a look that is really working. Your taste in music is so discerning. I asked around, we're all so certain you spend too much time unappreciated, uncelebrated. I'm glad to see you made it. Birthday, wedding, or you being pre-naked, or it's just Tuesday, your kid's dedicated war. It's got a cherry on top. I want everything live and ready to rock, cause I'm always there. I'm the host for the night. You'll never be lonely and I'll see you right. And I never sleep, so let's leave on the line till let's strike up the band and let's keep the flag. Jump and join it, celebrate, then cheer!
So perfect, right? Anything you'd like me to ask or help promote anything, or did we kind of cover
maybe you could even mention it actually if you want to.
Here, I'll twist it so that... Okay, good.
Yes. Right, you've watched me talking, but now it's time for action. If you want to see more of me, and frankly, you should want to, because there's a lot of me to see, not like physically, but in terms of my work. I might start this again.
Oh, it's still going in. Just kidding.
Come to nakedprofessor.com. It's on the dark web, but don't let that put you off. Just get through a few firewalls and then you get all the pictures you need.
Taken.
You can get the Naked Professor calendar. There's still a lot of months left and a lot of poses that I've got planned. No! Right, don't use that. Okay, hang on. Hi! If you've enjoyed this chat, and by golly I have, then maybe you want to come and join me on Patreon. Well, that's the thing I do, where I give away all of my stuff to kind people for giving me money. It's just patreon.com/Professor Elemental, I think. And if not, come and look at my videos on the YouTubes or the Information Superhighway. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Like you're a natural.
Lovely.
Just kidding. I know you've done this 1,000 times.
Oh, you're such a nerd.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks for having me. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good
We're
to
doing. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
As promised, here is one final song that I recorded during the panel when he presented this to the audience. He's going to invite you to put your hands up, so just go ahead. I don't care if you're on the metro, or maybe you're in class with one earbud in, or maybe you are just walking down the street. But yeah, he's going to say hands up, so just put those hands up. Feel free.
Don't worry about the outcome. If someone's ever better or you'll ever be outdone, someone is. So it doesn't matter, and I'll never ever wonder if there's other better rappers. So many things not you to get in. Say hello and then put them in the bin. Now sit down, you've got work to do. Who's gonna get this done if not you? Let's get scribbling, doodling, writing, removing, fiddling, giggling, improving.
and be the best you that you can ever be. So, what's my driving force? What I'm living, what I'm breathing and surviving for? I've got to make that art and make it good. See, my outlook is that, and that's the way it should be. Put your hands up, put your hands side to side, get your hands up. I've got to make that art and make it good. See, my outlook is that, and that's the way it should be. Finally, a word on biting. MCs pretend that we don't when writing. That's all nonsense, of course we do. All artists do it, and so should you. These ideas what Mr. Gaiman gave me. This flows from what a million MCs made me. That's all fine, because I made it my own, and I made it for you, so take the throne. Use what you want, disregard the rest. Creating a thing is a starting step. Collaboration, not competitive sport. And don't let them tell you you can never be taught. It's just practice, self-belief, a little validation, and well, let's see, it's something wonderful just to have fun with it. Pick up the pen and then run with it, come get it. Put your hands up, get your hands in the sky, put your hands up. I'm gonna make that art and make it good. See, my outlook is that, and that's the way it should be. Keep your hands up, in this funny little church, keep your hands up. I'm gonna make that art and make it good. See, my outlook is that, and that's the way it should be. Thank you.
I hope that you'll check out his website, resources, and events. This guy is all over the place. He's going to so many different conventions and places that you might be going as well. Again, you can find these at professorelemental.com. As a reminder, please join my newsletter at storypunks.world/newsletter to send me your emailed screenshot of a review you've left on iTunes for the Storypunks podcast. That way I can put you in the running to receive a Lady Mechanica coloring book. These are absolutely awesome, as you can see if you're watching the YouTube version, or if you just Google Lady Mechanica coloring book, you will be totally inspired. And it only seems appropriate as I send you back to the creative wilds of your weekend, or whenever you are listening to this, whenever you are producing your own art and your own punk-related stuff. I think it's only appropriate for Professor Elemental himself to take us out.
Let's get scribbling, doodling, writing, removing, fiddling, giggling, improving. Open your head like a cave with a lid. Unleash imagination, your brain's so big. Ideas fly like flocks of birds. Colourful explosions of possible words. Use what you want, then set them free. And be the best you that you can ever be. So, what's my driving force? What I'm living, what I'm breathing and surviving for? I've got to make that art and make it good. See, my outlook is that, and that's the way it should be. Put your hands up, put your hands side to side, get your hands up. I've got to make that art.